I am so excited. This stuff here, this, it's all part of the same thing. It's the beginnings of a project that I'm working on that came about because, well, I just wrapped up a 20-week mastermind that I hosted. It is on building clarity in your creative business, how to align your business with your goals as a creative. I find so much of the education, specifically in the event space, but even in space for designers and other creatives, is built primarily around the same sets of assumptions that most businesses have, which is about maximizing profits. It's about focusing on staying lean and all of those things. And yes, those things are important, but the number one purpose of my creative business is to feed my soul. Money's a close second, but it's very much second. Apples to apples, any decision that puts money and creative freedom against one another, creativity is going to win out every time. And in the middle of that mastermind, I realized something about myself that I can see in other people a mile away, and I forgot to look inwards. I mean, introspection's like a whole thing I'm doing. I've been super cryy lately. It's a thing. There are a bunch of books that I realized that I've been assuming people can get from my portfolio as it currently sits to the work that I want to be doing. The work I want to be doing is creating things like this as art that also functions as an invitation. Because I've always said, even your mama's not going to hang your wedding monogram on her wall. You've got to give her something that feels like a gift. But the gift has been a really great print, like a quote on the back of the main invitation panel or something like that. Well, I'm sick of sending paper rectangles as the main thing. I'm done. But most of my portfolio is paper rectangles. And so I'm doing this thing. The other thing I'm hoping this project accomplishes is giving me space and opening dialogue with event planners, wedding planners, who I think see the world the way that I do. I can look at a wedding planner or designer and know if their aesthetic matches mine. If I look closely enough, I can probably figure out if their budgets align with what I need to do my best work. But getting to the heart of how do they see the world? How do they engage with people? What matters the most to them about their work? That is the third circle on the Venn diagram that's always a crapshoot for me. And so I'm hoping that by sending these to some people that I think might see the world the way that I do, and in some cases I know that pretty clearly, that it'll be a chance to open up a dialogue about the work that we do and what's it for. I'm in the middle of reading Unreasonable Hospitality. I'm actually listening to it. But it is a book about the culture of 11 Madison Park, one of the greatest restaurants in America, if not the world. And this is one of those things that made me cry a lot. It's a restaurant that chooses to see the beauty and the humanity of everyone that walks through their doors, from the staff to guests and vendors to the customer. They show up in ways that reflect the humanity they see in other people. And I want to do that. Not only that, I want to work with people who want to do that. I want to do wildly creative things for people who see the world the way that I do. Seth Godin says, shun the non-believer. So I'm creating this project to recognize people that I think are doing this work. They're at least doing brilliantly creative work, and I think are doing the emotional labor required to meet people where they are. I'm calling the project Game Recognize Game. Because let's face it, I think the work I do sets me apart. I know the work that these people do sets them apart. I'm not going to tell you who these first two go to. There's one in there, and there's one in there. I'll show you a little bit about what I did. See, this project for me is a chance to play in the sandbox. It's a chance to play with techniques and form and function and all of the things. And essentially what I'm doing is creating one-of-one prototypes that I can then send to someone as a gift. I'm not entirely sure that they'll make it. I don't know how they'll ship, which is why I've included a little bit in a note about the shippability of them. And like if something happens, they can write me a note and I'll make them something else that's really cool. This is essentially what I would ship to myself to at least give it one night in the system, one night to get jostled and dropped and see how it lands. So the first thing I did was a project involving spackle, the pink to white dry indication spackle. I made these panels out of plywood and I coated them in spackle and I played with texture. I made a couple samples to begin with just to see how does it hold up, how strong is it, how high can I make the ridges before they're too fragile to last. And once I found some textures and some shapes that I liked, I coated these panels in them. Flat on one side, textural on the other. The one has very little texture. The other has a ton of texture. It literally looks like icing. And then I worked in color. And I thought about the people that I wanted to send them to and what inspires me about them. And I sent them something that I thought matched who they were. A black and brass one, super sophisticated and mysterious. And then this just insanely joyful blue and fuchsia and all of the excitement and shadow play. I love texture. I love light play. And I created these things and I carved all the way around the edge of these. Game, recognize game, recognize game, recognize game, recognize game. I believe in connecting with so that I can honor people who are doing incredible work. So I made these things and I'm super proud of them. They have come together so well, and they're just the first two. Each one is labeled one of many, two of many. I don't know when I'm going to be done. I'm literally just experimenting with techniques. I used to be afraid of repeating myself, but the reality is if a client wanted something like this, they're not going to get this exact formula. I've been reading Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And one of the things he said that struck me, because I've experienced it so many freaking times, is ideas don't belong to us. They just exist in the universe and they're looking for a conduit. And I can't tell you how many times I had this idea in my head that I wanted to execute, this thing I wanted to play with, to experiment with. And I didn't have a client who I could convince to let me do this. And so I just didn't do it. And 6 months later, 8 months later, the next month, another stationer did the thing. And I'm not going to copy them. I'm not going to do the thing that they just did and got all the love for because I wasn't the brave one that took the leap. So I'm taking leaps and I'm making things. The goal is to do this regularly. Game, recognize game. Because there's a lot of game in the world that I want to recognize. And so I'm just going to play and I'm going to see what happens and I'm going to put it out into the universe. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you who got these. Hopefully you'll see it soon in their Instagram stories. And if not, that's fine too. But the goal was to create this holy shit moment when a FedEx large box arrives on their door with a wooden crate inside and they have no idea what's inside of it. I've tried to think of all the details, all the instructions. I was deeply inspired by Virgil Abloh, who in a mini lecture he gave, he held up this little can. And it was a crumpled little anodized aluminum can. I think that's what it was. And he said, take this for instance. It was a candle. He goes, you put this against a white background in a white room, and it's a piece of art in a gallery. You put it in a garage, and it's a piece of trash. Context matters. So I've created some context. These crates painted with white on the inside so that they show up as a mini art gallery with this little color corner so that when you put the lid back on, you know which way it goes. I was deeply inspired by a YouTube video of an artist making crates. So I took some of his ideas and I took some of Virgil's and I expanded on it. I love, as the surrealist photographer Jerry Uelsman says, rewarding the careful observer. Little moments to find surprise and delight and awe. And I did it all in text. It was just on my little vinyl cutter at the studio, and it's imperfect. These things are perfectly imperfect. Probably 3 or 4 steps below what I'd want to send to a client, to their guests, but it works for this. It's just a moment. So if you receive one of these, I hope that you see the humanity in it. I hope that you see me recognizing your humanity in it, and your badassery, and your willingness to show up and create incredible things for incredible people. I am so excited to start this project and to bring you along with it. There will be more of the other kinds of things. If you are interested in joining my next creative mastermind, it is this coming Wednesday. What is that? Wednesday, the 27th of September. We are meeting from 1 to 2:30 Eastern via Zoom. It's for creative business owners who choose to believe that it's an act of love to tell someone, I can only give you my best, and this is what it takes. If you're not getting the kinds of clients that you want, and you know that you can do better, this might be for you. It's $3,500 for 20 sessions. It is going to be incredible. And if you're a fit, send me a message. We'll see if we agree. This isn't the last you'll see of me or this project. I've tried to set it up in a way that I can tackle it whenever I can, and do one at a time, drip them out, share them with the world. These are the first ones, and I'm so excited to put them into the world. I can't wait for you to see the next one.